So when I started backpacking, there were a few big issues that I had to learn how to overcome. One of the most common thing that kept happening, and it kept popping up, and it ruined a lot of my first backpacking trips that I ever did, and I'm sure it's ruined a lot of yours, is a bad night's sleep. Not only are those nights going to be some of the longest nights of your life where you just toss and turn all night long waiting for the sun to rise, but it also is going to probably impact the next day of your trip and possibly the entire rest of your trip. So as with anything that you practice, the longer that I've backpacked, the better I've gotten at finding certain common themes that have helped me to get better sleep while I'm on trail. And the last one absolutely revolutionized my sleep on trail, and if you have any problem at sleeping at night while you're out backpacking, you absolutely have to try the last one. So with that, let's go into the first trick that I found. The first trick that I've found to help improve your chances of a good night's sleep while you're out in the backcountry simply has to do with tiring yourself out during the day. And I know you're gonna think this is way too simple and it might seem like a waste of your time, but seriously, people just underestimate how exactly important this really is. If you show up to camp after 2 miles of hiking 3 hours before dark and you sit in the shade of a tree enjoying nature and just sit around relaxing and talking with some friends, you might find yourself having some trouble to sleep that night. It's an obvious but neglected fact. It's easier to sleep the more miles you put under your belt during that day. The first thing you can do to get better sleep on trail and just have better backpacking trips in general is start challenging yourself to do more and more miles per trip. You're gonna see more sights, you're gonna have the ability to hike different trails. It's good to feel yourself as you accomplish a challenge, as you accomplish a goal, but also you're gonna sleep at it like a baby after you've hiked 12 miles straight uphill that day. Now, if you're doing some weekend backpacking with the family and there's not that many miles that you can do on that trail or you shouldn't do on that trail because you've got some younger ones, there are some things you can do besides just walking more to tire yourself out during the day. When you get to camp, take those that are able to or older or whatever the case may be, maybe day hike to a waterfall, day summit some peak, you go to the top of a mountain, collect a lot of firewood or chop a lot of firewood if you're allowed to where you go. Just do something during the day, find something to use your energy at so that way you're tired when you try to go to sleep that night. Because I promise you, the more tired that you are at the end of the day, the better sleep you're gonna get. Now, the next way to ensure that you get better sleep on trail is surprisingly more overlooked than I thought it would be. I did not expect for so many people to think this isn't a very big deal than actually were. But you absolutely need a real, inflatable, and insulated sleeping pad while you're out on trail. There are two major ways that these inflatable, real, insulated sleeping pads are going to help improve your sleep. The first is simple, it's comfortability. It is no comfort at all when you're laying on a rock and you roll and you twist and you turn in the middle of the night just to have every bone of your body pressed and crushed into the cold, dark, damp earth. And number two is warmth. If you're trying to sleep cold, you're probably not sleeping at all. And having a good insulated sleeping pad, I've talked about this before, is one of the biggest factors when it comes to making sure that you actually stay warm during the night. Remember that a lot of your body heat is lost through the ground, and so if you don't have that insulation underneath you to reflect that heat back onto you, you're gonna be a whole lot colder. So that's another big thing you can do to help your sleep at night is have a good inflatable, insulated sleeping pad that's gonna keep you comfortable and warm while you're out there. Another quick tip that you can do to help your sleeping at night, I've talked about also before, it's have a real compressible pillow. I have the Thermarest compressible pillow. It's made out of real stuffing. It's a real thing. It's not one of those hard inflatable air pillows that feel like a rock. And this is something easy that you can add to your backpack that will instantly upgrade your sleep system. It feels like a real pillow. You can cinch on the cord, make it fluffier if you want to support your head the way that you need it to. And it rolls up into a convenient size for you to be able to put into your backpack, and it doesn't weigh too much. So if you're looking for a simple way to just improve your comfort while on trail trying to sleep, get the Thermarest compressible pillow, because I promise you it will beat whatever air pillow you found. And the next way that you can improve your sleep while on trail is having a tent that you can actually trust. When you hear that wind or the pouring rain outside at night, the last thing you want on your mind is worrying about if your tent is going to hold up, if it's going to leak, if it's going to rip. That's the last thing that should be on your mind because you know you're not going to be sleeping if you're worried about that. I had a tent that whenever it would start raining heavily, or even not raining heavily, it would begin to slowly leak through the seams, and as the water would gather on the seams of the rainfly, it would start dripping onto you inside of the mesh of the tent. So the way I solved this is I would just get a rain jacket and I would put it up in between the mesh of the tent and the rainfly of the tent. but I don't recommend this for anybody. So back on topic, there's no greater satisfaction than when you hear the rain start pouring or the wind is pushing a little bit hard. There's no greater satisfaction than knowing that your tent is well equipped to handle it, and that just allows you to sleep better at night. Actually, at that point, maybe the rain will become like a soothing background sound. So one of the things that I hear a lot of people that are, especially people that are new at backpacking, talk about when they're saying why they don't sleep very well on trail, has to do with like things that they might hear outside or just not liking what might be in the woods. It's stuff like that, whether it's an animal, whether it's a human. Pray to God it's not a human, but you know, just I hear a lot of stuff about the noises bothering people as they're trying to sleep. And I understand this. Sometimes nature makes some weird noises at night. First thing I want to get out of the way though is 99 times out of 100 it's going to be a squirrel. Now that we've gotten that out of the way, now that we know it's probably a squirrel, be proactive. Get all the food, all of the trail snacks, all of the scented items, you know, whatever you may have that will emit a odorous smell. Put it all in a bear sack and put it up in a tree in a safe distance, so that way you can just be rest assured there's no reason that bear will want to even try to get into your tent. Now, in the first place, bears wouldn't anyways, because as much as your food smells, they're going to smell you more than that food, and 99 times out of 100, they're not going to even dare nearing that tent, because remember, humans are like the #1 predator to wild animals, and they understand this. But do not misunderstand me. I am not saying by any means you should risk this, because there are those stories where bears will try to go for the trail snacks and stuff. So absolutely, put it up in a bear line, be safe, respect wildlife, but just keep this in mind, that they know you're there. They smell you. So most likely, you know, they're going to want to leave you alone and steer clear of you. So you're safe while you're out there. Even with all of this head knowledge about wildlife and how they're more scared of you, there are a few things that you can do if the noises outside that are going to happen still bother you. The first thing you can do is try some earplugs. You know those like those squeezable foam earplugs that you just put in your ears and they help dampen a little bit of the sounds outside. That's something you can easily get for cheap, and it's super lightweight, and it might just help you a little bit while you're trying to sleep at night, or even AirPods, I guess, but that's totally not, like weight-wise, that's not advisable. But AirPods work too, you know, AirPod Pros with the noise cancellation. Second, there's an option on the iPhone, and I'm sure there's an option on Android, but there's an option on iPhone where you can like change your accessibility shortcuts, and one of them is like background sounds, and so you can select like from a variety of background sounds. Like one of them is like a rainstorm or something, which I guess if you have a tent that leaks, a rainstorm isn't a very relaxing sound. But if you're fine, then you know you can choose a background sound to put on this accessibility shortcut, and then you can easily, with like a double tap of the power button or just on your little whatever they call that home screen thing, you can select to play that background sound, and your phone will emit that sound all night long. And it's not going to drain much of your battery. It'll just produce a sound that will help drown out the squirrel that's plotting your murder outside of your tent at night. So that way you just might be able to fall asleep a little bit better. All right, and the last tip that I have for you guys that can help you as you're trying to get a better sleep on trail. This one is huge for me personally, and I know it's going to be huge for a lot of you guys. And it is trying out a backpacking quilt. I sleep awfully inside of a tiny, slim mummy bag where I feel like I'm in a straitjacket all night. I need to move and wiggle and flip around probably more than anybody else that I know, and you just simply can't do that in a mummy bag. So there are two main ideas behind the backpacking quilt, and the first one is we're gonna save on some weight because there's no material underneath your back, because they're assuming that you're gonna have an insulated, R-rated sleeping pad. And if you have that, then there's no need for insulation on your back anyways, because that pad is going to be reflecting literally 99% of your body heat back onto you anyways. So with less material, they save on weight, obviously. And then the way that the quilt like lays over top of you and then is strapped underneath with some like elastic straps to your pad, the way that it just lays over you feels a whole lot more like a blanket or a duvet back at home. The quilt that I'm using right now, and I absolutely love it, is one that was sent to me by a company that wanted me to try it out, and it is the Eastern Mountain Sports Clarity 20 Degree Down Backpacking Quilt. It's a long title, but Eastern Mountain Sports makes great backpacking quilts, and this one is super lightweight. It's got 850 filled down, so its loft is insane, super warm down to 20 degrees Fahrenheit, and they've actually got a colder option quilt too. That's like a 0-degree quilt. So I really can't overstate it enough about these quilts, is when you lay that blanket over top of you, and it doesn't cinch around your sides, and you have to like squeeze your arms down beside your hips, and you realize that you can actually spread out a little bit, and you can turn, and the bag doesn't lift up at all because it's got these elastic straps underneath your pad, so there's no drafts from cold air. You can just turn and adjust underneath this huge fluffy down blanket any way that you want. It just changes your sleep at night, and I promise you, if you can sleep in a mummy bag, that's awesome, because when it does get down to like -20, -40, it does become hard for a quilt to be able to ensure warmth down that far. But well within 0, 20, maybe even some negative degrees, quilts definitely do the job, and they are way more comfortable than a mummy bag. So if you're having trouble laying on your back all night, still on a tiny little pad in a tiny little mummy bag, try a backpacking quilt. So there you have it, guys. I know how much a good sleep is going to impact your trip, and if you haven't experienced that yet, then I promise you, the first bad night's sleep you have out on trail, you're going to realize what I mean. And so these tips are just some of the few ways that I've found as trying it more and more that I've learned to have a better sleep at night on trail. Another big thing is just the more you go out and sleep at night in a tent in the backcountry, the better you're going to get at it and the more natural it's going to feel. So guys, if you're worried because you're not having a lot of success with it, but you love backpacking except for sleeping, try these tips, get a backpacking quilt maybe, and just keep at it, because I promise you the more that you practice it, the better you're going to get. So I just hope that you enjoyed this video and you found it useful. Please let me know in the comments if you disagree, if you agree, if you have something to add. Just let me know what you think, guys. Thank you. I'll see you next time.